Hi, my name is Jeremy Sweat, and I'm going to talk today a little bit about what it's like actually growing up in a conservative, community as a homosexual. I remember from a very early age, my dad would joke around with his friends, always making fun of gay people. I didn't really know what it meant to be gay, but I instinctively remember that he did not like those type of people. Um, I heard him comment several times if I ever found out my son was gay, I would disown him, I would kick him out of my house, and all I knew back then was, I did not want to be gay at all. Um, it wasn't until around the age of 13, once I hit puberty, that I started realizing that I was gay. I understood what it meant to be gay, and that I was actually gay. I remember being horrified at that idea, just knowing that people were going to hate me for something that I definitely didn't choose and would definitely give up in a heartbeat. I had spent many hours at church praying for it to go away. Um, it just doesn't work that way. It took me actually doing research and, you know, to realize that it's not something that I have control over. Um, but I remember walking through school just thinking anybody would be able to look at me and just tell. I remember being just filled with dread at the idea of anybody finding out. Um, this caused me to have a very violent reaction when somebody accused me of being gay, even if they didn't mean it in the way that it's supposed to mean. Kids just joking, oh, he's gay or something like that. They probably didn't even mean that they thought I was homosexual, but I would react so violently. I remember getting in so many fights in middle school and in high school in particular. I remember one incident where a boy, he was actually being very rude. He was in class and he kept calling me a faggot. And I remember I actually told the teacher. I went up to the teacher's desk and told her what he was doing, what he had called me, and she started laughing. And I was filled with so much rage at that I went straight to the boy's desk, flipped his desk over backwards, and hurt him pretty bad. I mean, I hurt him pretty bad for that. Also, other kids that were obviously homosexual, I remember kids would pick on them so bad, and I would feel sorry for them. I remember feeling, pretty much helpless. I couldn't do anything to help them. And once my friends started doing it, I felt that I had to contribute to that, even though I didn't necessarily want to, but I thought if I didn't, that they would all assume that I was gay. That it was just very scary. And in my paper, I talked about how, gay students perceived faculty as not taking action, as being, just witnesses to it, but never doing anything about, the abuse and the bullying. And I definitely agree with that. I mean, I remember I've seen it firsthand. I've heard the whole boys will be boys argument, and really I felt like there was nobody on my side. It was me versus the world at that time. And I could definitely understand why, students commit suicide in these situations. I've thought about it numerous of times. I couldn't tell you how many times I've thought about it. Thank God I never acted on it. It wasn't until college, that my whole mindset changed. I felt I had something to prove, that I no longer cared, for one, if people knew. I came out and really stopped caring what other people thought, but I still felt like I had something to prove to everybody. So I made sure I made all A's, was top of my class, because if nothing else, they could never say I'm less of a person when I could achieve more than most heterosexual people could achieve. Um, so really, it motivated me to work harder and to achieve more. Um, I finally came out to my parents. My mom, I couldn't ask for a better supporter, a better cheerleader. Really, she's been my best friend through all of this. Uh, my dad, he slowly came around, and now we have a relationship, and things are really looking up. But the discrimination is still there. It's always still there. I remember maybe 2 semesters ago, I was in a class, and a girl actually said, before she knew I was gay, that she didn't believe homosexuals should be allowed to be teachers, because they would pose a danger to children. Not only did she say that, but a majority of the class actually agreed with that assertion. Um, so it brought back that whole idea of I would have to hide who I am. If I ever did start teaching, it would have to be, I would never have to, could be in a love and committed relationship, an open relationship. I could never be honest with my students about who I am. Every classroom I go in, I see teachers that have pictures of their family all around the wall. I could never do that, especially here in this small town. If I was to get a teaching job here, I know that would be an issue. So really, it's like I'm going back to that mentality that I can't never let anybody know. Also, a year ago, I was fired from a job, and the reason given was for inappropriate sexual language. I would never discuss anything sexual in nature at work. The only thing difference was I wasn't in the closet, and instead of talking about my girlfriend, I would talk about my boyfriend. And I was told that it made another employee uncomfortable, so I never mentioned my relationship again. But still, I was fired. I was still terminated from that job. And so the discrimination is always going to be there. I don't see it going away anytime soon until there's actually legislation that protects discrimination based on homosexuality. A federal law that protects against discrimination. Some states have it. Georgia's definitely not one that does. And so back to my topic of, why the Don't Say Gay bill, and why it's detrimental. It stops teachers, the few teachers that would actually stand up for students and would actually come to their aid when they're being bullied. I know there's not many of them out there, but there are some there. It would prevent them from doing so just because they don't want to be perceived as being an advocate or an ally. That if they're not perceived as 100% neutral on those issues, that they could possibly lose their jobs. And I've had 2 friends commit suicide. One actually recently, and another one 3 or 4 years ago. And the one recently, he never came out of the closet. There was no known ties to homosexuality, but I've always had the impression that he was gay. And the other one had come out as a lesbian, but because of the horrible home life that she lived in, she took her own life. And if I could stop one kid from making that decision, if I could help one kid to not want to take their life, to know that there's support out there, that there's people who care about them, then I would view my career as being a success. It's one of the motivating factors in me wanting to be a teacher, is so I can be a positive role model for these teens who are struggling to find any role models at all that they can relate to. Well, that's about it, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.